Okay, so the tutorial for today is about how to write essay introductions. Now, as you may have seen from some of the previous videos and posts on my blog, etc., we were talking about the structure, how to structure, to what extent essay, what's the difference between a to what extent essay and a discuss both views essay. So what I want to talk about now is about especially introductions. Now, I get people writing and sending me essays every single day, and a lot of them, the introduction, it doesn't really introduce. It's very, well, there's some problems there. So we'll talk about those now, and we'll see. So firstly, why are introductions important? Well, as I keep saying to everybody, first impressions count. Whether it's for a job interview or when you meet someone, when you read an article, in every case, first impressions count. Perhaps they shouldn't, but they do. So, in terms of essay then, having a good, strong, and especially a clear introduction that restates the question, gives your opinion, and has an outline sentence that tells the reader, the examiner, what the essay is about, what you think, and where it's going is very important. Yeah, but I keep seeing the same mistakes time and time again. Some common issues: being too vague and general, using a cliche. It is a common phenomenon these days. The issue is a controversial and hotly debated hot button topic. Nowadays, there seems to be a great deal of controversy, etc. Not so good. Now, the examiners, they don't like this, right? They really do not like these very general, sweeping, broad statements to an essay. They just want you to, make a statement, a general statement, introduce the topic, you paraphrase it. According to some people, this is this. However, some people think that this is that. In this essay, I will talk about how this is this and this is that, etc. Just keep it simple. Another issue is not including, that's not spelled right, a thesis statement, in other words, making your position. Now, we've spoken about this in the previous video or two about the criteria for the essay. The examiner wants you to express a clear position throughout the response. So that obviously means you have to put it in the introduction. So what it basically means is we need to be unambiguous about what you think. You have to say, I agree, I disagree, it is agreed. That's if it's to what extent. If it's worded in such a way that it's asking you for your opinion, you have to say so. I think, I agree, I disagree, it is agreed. Do it in first person, do it in third. It's not important, but the criteria says, we have to have a clearly expressed opinion. Now, the other mistake that lots of people make is they do not include an outline sentence. In other words, they don't tell me, the reader, where the essay is going. If it's discuss both views, then don't say, in this essay I will discuss both views. Well, we know that because the question's told you, So what we do want is, what are you going to say? What's your two main ideas? What are the views? What's the advantages, the disadvantages? What's the problems, the solutions, the causes? Put this in your outline sentence. So, to get to the main point, you need to keep it brief. Introductory sentence, right? I sometimes get some essays and the introduction is longer than a paragraph. I mean, a body, a paragraph. So the introduction should be relatively short and sweet. This is what I think, this is a topic, I'm going to say this is this, and then you expand it in your paragraphs, paragraph 2 and 3. So, introductions, keep it brief because you will be expanding it in your body paragraphs. I think this, I think that, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. Okay. Now, another point, keep it clear. I get lots of people, I don't know, in some parts of the world, their education system, it teaches them to go about things in a roundabout way, to indirectly approach a topic, and then you find out right at the end what the essay is, what the point is. However, for this, I tell every student, spell things out. In other words, this means this. This is that. We don't want it too general. I keep saying the examiner doesn't want to be pissing about trying to decode and interpret what your essay is about. They've got a big pile of essays which they have to read. They want an easy life, the same as you and I. So spell things out. This is this, I think this, I say that. Here's a reason, here's an example. Say exactly what you mean. In other words, assume the examiner, reader, me, is an idiot. I've no idea what you're talking about. You have to explain and spell things out exactly what you mean. Now, say what the task is. What are you doing? If it's to what extent do you agree, then say I agree. If it says what are the advantages, say I think the main advantage blah 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 is. Say what you think. Again, we can't make any assumptions that the examiner will automatically know what you're talking about. Make it clear as day. In my view, in my opinion, I believe, I think, I feel. Right. Now, some of you may say, well, this is a bit too simple, too formulaic. And that is correct. But it's not a university essay. IELTS essay is not like the essays that you would write at university. It's not. The criteria is not originality, exposition, etc. It's grammar, lexis, cohesion, coherence, task, achievement. That's what they're concerned with, not anything else. So you've got 250 words. You need to give reasons and examples. Now, I've been through the criteria in a video a few days back, so I won't explain it again, but meeting the criteria, that's all that you need. You don't need to be clever or use complex sentences, overcomplicated language. In fact, in terms of structure, the simpler, the better, really. Now, let's have a look with some examples. Now, so here's a sample question. Okay, so directors of large companies often receive much bigger salary increases than ordinary workers. Employers, organizations say that in a global market, this is necessary to attract the best management talent. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Give reasons for your answers, blah, blah, blah. So, specifically asking, what do you think? So, here's an example that someone wrote and sent me. Okay, the topic of strong distinction between directors and ordinary workers seems not to be a controversial one. Okay. Everyone knows about that difference, but usually many of us are unaware of its reasons. Although we definitely can't say that blue collars are working less and top managers, white collars are having huge paychecks and bonuses, whereas ordinary workers can count on social package and average salary. Observed from that side, oh dear, the issue looks more serious and sometimes can cause an exertion in publicity. Now that's the introduction. So that's 83 words. Okay. Is that good? Not really. Why? Well, sentence one, it's one of these general meaningless statements that I mentioned. The topic of seems not to be a controversial one. Okay, well, that's vaguely about the topic, but is it a paraphrase? Is it a direct paraphrase? Not exactly. Okay, sentence two, everyone knows about the difference. Again, making assumptions. Do we know? What does that mean? Then you've got some more stuff about paychecks, bonuses, but is there a clearly expressed opinion? Do we know exactly what the writer thinks? Not as such. I mean, we definitely can't say. Well, what can we say? Observe from that side, the issue looks more serious, so it's kind of hinting at an opinion. But, the examiner reading this, he, she, it will be thinking, well, I'm not quite sure, what this is about. It's very general. It's about the topic more or less, but I'm not sure, what the author thinks. I'm not sure what they're going to say. So, the writers basically made the three mistakes, which I mentioned. Being too vague, using a cliche, it's a controversial issue. Okay. Not expressly stating a clear opinion. In fact, not stating any opinion as such. And we don't have an outline sentence. Now, outlines, I said, lots of people do not include them, but it's vital. You're not going to get a very high score, really, unless you do include one. Now, so what structure might we use? If you remember from my video, to what extent, and on the blog site. So, sentence one, you paraphrase the question, restate the topic. According to some, this is this, and this is that. Okay. Sentence two, what's your thesis, or, what do you think? I agree, I disagree, it is agreed, it is argued that. Okay. Sentence three, we need an outline. What's your two main ideas for paragraph two? What's your, what are you planning to say? Okay, so let's see how this works in practice. So this is a example for the same question type. Directors of companies, blah blah blah. So let's have a look. Okay. It has been argued that although in many companies directors' pay is considerably larger than most other employees, the reason for this is to recruit the most able managers to a particular company. So we've got a paraphrase. I strongly disagree with this opinion, as in most cases, company performance is not always about the decisions of management, but about other factors such as the global economy. Right. Outline sentence. This essay will firstly consider main idea one, just how effective directors are, and secondly, main idea two, that the stock price is affected by currency fluctuations and the markets. So, sentence one seems to paraphrase the question topic in a single sentence, using it has been argued. You don't have to use it. Any introductory expression would do. I just use it because, from like years of writing essays. It has been argued. Okay, and also because it's passive and it's objective. Sentence 2, as we saw, we've got a clear statement of opinion. I strongly disagree. So there's no room for misunderstanding. It's completely unambiguous. This is what the author thinks. As I said, use third person, use first, doesn't matter because it's asking you, to what extent do you agree? So, sentence 3 is an outline. It tells us in brief what the writer is going to use, what's the reasons, what's the evidence. Now, you don't need to say a lot about what they are, because you will do this in your paragraphs 2 and 3. Okay. So let's have a look at another question type to illustrate this a little bit more. So the two-part question type. So, why and do you think it's a positive or a negative? So here's the question. People prefer to go shopping in the supermarket rather than small shops or local markets. Why has this happened? Do you think it's positive or negative development? So a typical structure for this is sentence 1, paraphrase, restate the question. Sentence 2, you briefly answer both of the questions. So in our introduction, we need to do first, as we do for every essay question type, sentence 1, you paraphrase the question. Then second sentence, to briefly answer both the questions. So we need to say why this occurred. Okay. Express our opinion. Do you think, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Is it positive or negative? So here's an example that somebody wrote me. Nowadays, there is an increase on the number of people that used to buy their goods on supermarkets instead of small markets. There are some advantages and disadvantages in this trend. Bit of a misinterpretation of the question, but positive advantage, negative disadvantage, but still we don't really know where it's going. So there's a bit of paraphrasing, but we don't really have an outline and we don't have an opinion. Now, here's a better example. An increasing number of shoppers are doing their shopping in supermarkets instead of small local shops. So, is that a good paraphrase? Yep. It can be argued that the main reason for this is the cheaper price of the goods. In other words, supermarket food, goods are cheaper. So we've briefly answered the why, because it is cheaper. Then question 2, it's asking, do I think this is a positive or a negative? In my opinion, this is a positive step which will benefit less well-off people and allow them to eat good food cheaply. Well, it's obvious why it is better. Sentence 1 is a paraphrase. Sentence 2 answers question 1. Sentence 3 answers the second question and includes an opinion. So that's basically it. Let's have a look at some different examples now from some of the other question types. I won't put the structures down because you can find them on my blog site. You can find them there, and I shall probably make a video about those at a later date. This is just to give you an idea of the introductions. So the best way to solve the world's environmental problems is to increase the cost of fuel. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So Sentence 1, it has been argued that the most effective way to solve today's environmental problems is to raise the price of fuel. Right. I disagree, as the world faces many problems and reducing fuel consumption may only have a limited effect. That's main idea number 1 for paragraph 2. And secondly, this approach places responsibility for the environment on governments. Main idea 2, it doesn't take into account individual actions. So you've got your restatement, you've got your opinion, you've got main idea 1 and main idea 2. Okay. Looking at advantages and disadvantages. In the past, lectures were a traditional method of teaching large numbers of students. Nowadays, new technology is increasingly being used to teach students. What's the advantages and disadvantages? So, it can be argued that technology in the classroom is increasingly replacing the traditional way of delivering information to students, previously given in the form of lectures to large groups of people. A little bit long, but it basically restates that. Okay. So now we have to say what we think are the advantages and the disadvantages. This session will argue that the advantages are flexibility, and the main disadvantage is a lack of familiarity. In other words, some students might not know how to use it. Advantages. Hang on, let me just change that. Main advantage. That's it. That's better. Very good. Discuss both views. Computers are being. It's basically same question really. Computers are being used more and more in education these days. Some people say it's positive, others say it's negative. Discuss both views. So again, sentence 1, we restate, in the modern classroom, technological devices such as computers are being increasingly utilized. Some say it's positive, some say it's negative. So that's both of the views. This essay will consider the ease of access to information. Secondly, consider how an over-reliance on technology may harm students' critical thinking abilities. So, not too bad. Causes, solutions. In some countries, the average weight of people is increasing. Their levels of health and fitness are decreasing. What's the cause? What's the solution? So as again, it's asking for my opinion. What do you think? In several countries, there has been an increase in the average weight of the population with a related decrease in the general levels of fitness. So, sentence 1, we paraphrase. Okay, my opinion, because it's saying, what do you think? I believe these problems are caused by poor nutrition and a sedentary lifestyle. Okay, so I've briefly answered. Sorry. Yes. So I've briefly answered the first part and the second part. This essay will describe how fast food and workers' change has the principal causes and suggest a joint government and employer initiative as a possible solution. So that's basically it. In summary, keep it simple, keep it brief, spell things out, don't make assumptions, and that's it really. It's relatively straightforward. Once you get used to it, sentence 1, you paraphrase. Sentence 2, if it asks for your opinion, you give it. Then you give an outline. What are you going to be talking about? What's your main ideas? What's the problem? What's the solution? What's the advantage? What's the disadvantage? And that's it. That's your introduction. Okay, so I'm going to post the text for this on my blog so you can see all these examples and you can copy them out and use them yourself. As before, if you've got any questions, anything you want to ask, if you have any requests for a tutorial, you can write to me at this email and I'll see what I can do. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.